No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the player and team tier lists. We've got a couple weeks of League of Legends under our belt. I think there are fireworks going on outside, or I'm being shot at, not completely sure. But let's start in the LCS. So before the season started, I had, and this is what I had previously, I'm going to make some adjustments. So what I had previously was CLG in last place. I think that CLG, before the season started, I didn't believe in their ability to be competitive now, and I didn't believe they were building anything for the future. Dokla has done a good job in the top lane, and the team has been playing more intelligently around their drafts and with their players. They've been drafting well all split, but the thing that I think people need to remember is that this is the beginning of the year. Drafting is more influential in the beginning of the year when there is not a predefined meta, because it's easier to catch the opponent off guard. As time goes on, in a couple of months, it's going to be much more difficult for them to draft at this level and have a draft differential in a lot of these games. They will do it sometimes, I'm sure. They will still do it sometimes, I'm sure, occasionally, but not as consistently as they are right now. I think that their roster is okay, but it's not great. I don't think that they're going to do anything long term with this team, so it's really up to them to kind of win now, and I don't think that they're going to win now. So they'll probably end the season in 5th or 6th place. They're going to lose some games. Dokla is a league average player and replaceable. Contracts, league average player and replaceable. Palafox, league average player and replaceable. Luger, he actually shows some glimpses of being an upper echelon AD carry. There are some AD carries that are kind of over the hill and are starting to decline, I think. And then you have Poom, who is good but not great. So that's really what I think about CLG. I think they'll end up being kind of closer to this tier of team, but I'm not convinced that they're going to be much better than those teams. Immortals, I am okay with some of the moves that they've made in the offseason. So Revenge, I still can't believe they're trying to build around this guy. He's league average at best. Kenvi, it's tough to see what he looks like when he has a team that is not performing well, so I'm not going to kind of judge him as a jungler until we see some wins and some more competitive games from their team. Power Vival is a good mid laner. I think that at worst he's league average. He's just a good solid player overall though. Good control mage player, and I could see him being on a good team, but the talent around him isn't good enough to kind of showcase that talent. He can't be the best player on a good team, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Lost, league average at best. And then Ignar is a good playmaking support. Just again, it's tough when you're on a team that kind of lacks an identity right now. They don't have anyone they can easily play through. I guess the idea would be to play through Kenvi, but that's not working out right now. Next up, we should talk about TSM. I like what TSM has done so far. Humi is still a good player. Spica is one of the best junglers in the league. Maple has had an okay start to the season. Tactical is a good aggressive playmaking AD carry. And then Mia has been looking okay as a support, but he's nothing special yet. So we have to wait. The jury's still out on him. Then we can say a lot of the same things about Golden Guardians. Licorice is okay. Pride Stalker had a surprisingly good split last split. And their team is doing okay right now. I guess they're 3-3. Not too excited about them. Ablaze Olive, Stixay, Ale, they're all okay players, but they're not going to challenge anybody in the playoffs. They're not a serious contender in the playoffs. Dignitas, same thing. The Gamsu swap didn't really make much sense to me. He's not going to put you over the top and make you a competitive team in this region or internationally. River, good gank-heavy jungler, just not on a good enough team to really take advantage of his skill set. Blue has had some good games. I'm not convinced that he's one of the best mid laners in the region, but he's at least league average, it just means that you need to find a difference maker in the top lane, or a difference-making support. Somebody that's going to take the game upon themselves to make plays. Right now, River could be that guy, but if River is the best player on your team, you're probably not going to win the LCS. Then we have Flyquest. Flyquest, kind of the same thing. And it really comes down to talent evaluation. So Philip, I don't know much about him yet. We've seen some good games and some bad games. Jose Diodo has had a pretty good split so far for his for what we expect of him. Takui has been surprisingly good the entire split and a half that he's been here. And then Johnson and Aftermoo. I think that Johnson has a ceiling that makes him league average, not much better than that. And then Aftermoo, just a really good support. When engaged champions are like the best champions, he can kind of get things done for you. He's a playmaker. The only teams that I really care to talk about here in the LCS are the top 4 teams. So let's talk about C9 first because their game just finished. So C9, Fudge is a good top laner. He's one of the better top laners in the league. I have him rated as I think an A level player, which means he could be a starter on most teams around the world. There are some players that are better than him, but if you swapped out him for a lot of the other top laners that are out there, he would be just as good, if not better. Blabber, same thing. I think Blabber's a very good jungler. Jensen, I think that Jensen is not that good anymore. He is good enough to be competitive in North America, but North American mid lane is very bad right now. Berserker, I think Berserker has potentially elite upside, especially within the LCS. I don't think that he's going to have any problems at international competitions or something like that either. He's better than a lot of AD carries that are out there. He's willing to take the aggressive line, make plays, and has great mechanics. And then Sven has done a good enough job so far as support. We need to watch that situation to see how that kind of evolves. Next, let's talk about 100 Thieves. And this isn't necessarily in order. The top 4 teams are all pretty good. I think EG is the best, though. So for 100 Thieves, someday, good player, will be fine internationally. Closer, good player, will be fine internationally. He's probably an A-level jungler, just like Blabber, Spica. I think Inspired's better than all of them. Abadaga, good. He's been good since he's come to North America, but he's not been as dominant as people want him to be. Part of that is because of the team style. FBI, good AD carry, not great internationally, but a good player that gives you the chance to win your region, which is, something that's a good quality to have in a player. And then Huhi is a solid support, very diverse champion pool, good at engaged champions, and is a good shot caller. Let's talk about Team Liquid. And the thing that we need to realize about Team Liquid is that they've been overrated probably for a year and a half because people want to give more credit to the name recognition than it deserves. Before the season started, I said that Santorin and Bjergsen were going to ultimately limit the ceiling of this team and they wouldn't be competitive internationally because they're just not good enough and their play style is boring. I think that Team Liquid's coaching staff needs to make them play more aggressive. Now is the time to figure out how to be an aggressive team. If they are not an aggressive team by the time that they make it to Worlds, which I assume that they will make it to Worlds, if they're not aggressive at that point, they're going to get steamrolled by a bunch of these teams internationally. They just play too slow for a team that is supposedly very good. So if Team Liquid is truly as good as their fans think that they are, they should be willing to play more aggressive. I understand the concept of being more conservative, play low variance, but now is not the time for that. Now is the regular season. You're going to make the playoffs. Just try to figure out if you can be more aggressive because these other teams are going to try to be more aggressive. So Bwipo, I think Bwipo is an elite top laner internationally. I think he's very, very good. He's definitely a top 10 top laner in the world. Santorin is not. Bjergsen is not. Hansama is a good AD carry. He's like a top 4, top 5 AD carry. And if you have an elite couple of players on your team and you have Hansama, then you could make it into the knockout rounds at Worlds. But right now, they're just not playing aggressive enough to let Hansama kind of go insane. And then Core JJ is obviously one of the best supports in the world and is one of the best supports in North America. So for a team like Team Liquid, who has a great top laner and a great support and a good AD carry, you really need a jungler or mid laner who is a huge playmaker and will put the team on their back in the mid game. And Santorin and Bjergsen are just not those guys. you might disagree with that, but I mean, just look at their game today. That was the most boring game ever. And the reason why that low variance playstyle is kind of like gives you a false sense of security is because they had like a 3,000 gold lead. They get to a Baron fight, lose the Baron fight. Now they're losing the game. They lost the game fast. So, I mean, why even play the game that way? It's just not entertaining. It's not like showing some kind of skill. It's just playing slow for the sake of playing slow. It's just annoying to watch. Evil Geniuses, best team in North America. I don't think it's really debatable at this point. From a talent perspective, Impact, we know he's a player who can play at the international level and do so pretty well. They had a rough MSI, but that shouldn't trick everyone into thinking that was their best case scenario, because it obviously wasn't. Inspired, I think Inspired is one of the best junglers in the world. I think that you could put him on a bunch of different teams internationally and they'd be successful. He has a very good mentality. You can tell that he takes this game very seriously and he's willing to like help his teammates improve, and if he needs to be a jerk about it, he'll be a jerk about it. For some players, that rubs them the wrong way. That's why he ended up leaving Rogue, I think. I think Otowamne has kind of hinted at that. But Inspired was the best player on that team, and Inspired is one of the best players, in my mind, in the world. He's definitely a top 20 player in the world. Jojo Pyon has been much better than we thought he could be. I was looking at my rankings from before the spring split, and I had him as a C because he was an unknown. Jojo Pyon is definitely like an A-level player, an A or B-level player is his range of outcomes now, with the potential upside of being like one of the better mid laners in the world. I don't know if he could ever really be a top 5 mid laner in the world or a top 10 mid laner in the world, but I think that he can have good games and good matches against those levels of players, which suggests he's at least an A talent level as his ceiling. So that's basically it for the LCS. I think so far in the LCS, it's been a little bit surprising, but not overly surprising. Dignitas was always going to be middle of the table at best. Immortals pretty bad. TSM has looked pretty good in some of their games. Has a good upset under their belt. They beat 100 Thieves, I believe. Golden Guardians, Flyquest, and CLG. I think all three of those teams will ultimately kind of fill out the bottom of the playoff bracket with TSM. Team Liquid, I think, will make it to Worlds. I just think that they're overrated, and people they really need to realize that they need to be more aggressive to kind of exert their dominance regionally, and that will give them the confidence to play that way internationally. They need to do that. I'm not sure why they're playing this slow pace against teams that they're just better than. And that's basically it. Evil Geniuses are the best. So let's go to the LEC. So I'm not really changing much here. I think that these are still the best 4 teams. If you want to put CLG up there, then I'd love to bet money against you. Don't be ridiculous. So let's go to... I can make that smaller still. Okay. So now we're in the LEC. So again, BDS, they had a pretty bad roster last split. They still have a pretty bad roster. Getting rid of your best player in Adam isn't going to make you better. SK Gaming, same roster, same result, not very good. Misfits, they have a Lee Sin one trick, which is very harmful to your team's ability to win. Some team, aka Mad Lions, gave him Lee Sin today, and they won. I think that you should just ban him every single game. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. I think that they'll end up being better than this as the season goes on. They'll probably make playoffs, and they'll be somewhat competitive in playoffs. I think they're just having a tough start to the split. Not having Hyrit is also bad. I think there was something wrong with his visa. At least that's what I heard. Now we have Vitality. And Vitality is probably the most frustrating team to watch in the world. Going from self-made to Haru was never going to make them an elite team. Stylistically, could it have worked out? Sure. Today, in their matchup, they almost lost that game against Astralis, but they ended up just talent diffing them, which is, within the range of outcomes, but Alfari hasn't looked good this split. Haru hasn't been impressive this split. Perks has been okay. Karzi has not looked good this split, and he didn't look good last split either. There were times where he looked okay, but he's really a utility AD carry. We need in order for Vitality to do well, they need to get lucky and for the meta to completely swing towards only utility AD carries where they're not playing anything that requires Carzzy to be the main carry on the team, unless it's an extreme hyper carry where the meta is completely defined and they can actually get good drafts because their drafting is shockingly bad. Astralis has been shockingly good, and I didn't want to believe it, but I think that Jonghoon is actually a very good support. He's a good playmaker. He plays Pyke really well, plays Rakan really well, and that shows that he has elite playmaking upside. I think that he has the potential to be one of the best supports in the LEC because he's willing to actually play the game aggressively. When there's an opportunity, he tries to take it. So that's good. So Astralis, you should probably move up. SK, you should probably move down. And then like that. XL. Something like that. Having a playmaking support does change a lot for them. And then we have 5 teams tied for first place. So let's just do it in the order that they are in Leaguepedia. So Odoamne is good but not great player. Malrong, he's good but not great either. I mean, he's a good gank heavy jungler, and that's a good play style if the team is playing around it the right way. I think that he's one of the better junglers in the LEC, but I think that the junglers in the LEC are pretty weak overall. And just because he came from Damwon doesn't mean that he's going to be great. I don't think he's great. Mad Lions, Niski has been a good addition to the team. I think that stylistically he matches up really well with Elyoya, which doesn't surprise me. He's like a bad version of Humanoid, who also is not very good. But they've played much better this split, and you got to give them credit for that. It really allows Elyoya to be one of the best junglers in Europe, because he is one of the best junglers in Europe. He's not definitely the best jungler in Europe, and he's not elite internationally, but he is a good jungler that you can play around. G2, I was saying, G2 is really not that good. Somebody commented at me in one of my previous videos, and bam, they lose back-to-back games. This one was an easy one for me. It was like Fnatic as an underdog against G2. I think that was a pretty easy spot. Broken Blade is one of the better top laners in the league. Yonkos, one of the better junglers in the league. Caps, the best mid laner in the league. Flocked and Targamas have played well so far this year. I think that Targamas is another player who has playmaking upside, so we could see the beginning of 2 very good supports in the LEC that will stick around for a long time. Hopefully that's the case. But I really don't think Flock is that good. And then we have Fnatic. Wonder, Razork, Humanoid, Upset, Hillsong. Really strong roster overall. I think that Fnatic and Rogue are really the odds-on favorites to win. And then we have XL. So Finn, Marcoon, Nukeduck, Patrick, Mickey X. Patrick has been good for a pretty long time, about 2 years, and I think people are happy that he's finally on a team that has enough talent to support him. So Patrick with Mickey, good combination. Marcoon is a good jungler. Finn is an okay top laner. The only reason I said so many negative things about Finn is because of the crazy buyout that CLG gave for him, which was just hilarious. And then Nukeduck. Nukeduck, I'm not saying that Nukeduck's as good as Bjergsen, but Nukeduck plays the same role as Bjergsen within his team, where he just wants to play control mages, doesn't want to be a liability in the draft, and then he'll just do his job in the game. Bjergsen's a better version of that, but they kind of fill the same slot within their teams. So I think that this is kind of the same right now. I guess you could put XL up here. Vitality scares the shit out of me, and I want them to be better than they are. I think Mad Lion's probably better than Misfits, so probably something like this. All right, let's go to the LCK, and then we'll get the LPL ready. So in LCK, that's spring. We want summer. We're gonna go through players as well, but only the elite players. So Fred at Brion. I never get this team right. I think that Morgan's pretty good. Everyone else has been kind of bad. KT Rolster. I think that Aiming is a solid AD carry. I think that Arya is a solid mid laner. There's a reason that Nation Focus Me was trying to build their team around him. It just hasn't worked out. I think that jungle and support are kind of liabilities for them right now. Rascal, pretty good top laner. Homolife, I don't think any of their players are really going to stick around long term. I think Willard was good when they had a good team. I don't know what's happened with that, especially in a Viego meta. I think he should probably be playing. I'm not sure what's happening behind the scenes. Kwangdong took a match off of T1. That's obviously impressive. Teddy's still a very good AD carry. Fate is a pretty good mid laner. Not a huge difference maker in Korea because there's so many good mid laners. If you take somebody like Fate and put him in the LEC or the LCS, he's like a top half of the league mid laner for sure. Same thing with Keen. Good top laner. But there are a lot of good top laners in the LCK. Kana is an elite top laner. I think he's one of the best in the world. Dread and BDD have been pretty good as a combination. Ghost is kind of unfortunately a liability for this team. He's not an elite AD carry. With an elite AD carry, Nongshim would be like a pretty terrifying team. If you took Teddy and put him on Nongshim, then you'd have an interesting team. Damwon has been good but not great so far this year. Their roster is very talented. I believe in Nuguri, Canyon, Showmaker. You could put anybody in the bot lane, and I'd kind of trust them to make it to Worlds. I think that Diokdom and Kellen will be fine. Sandbox has played really well so far this year. Dove is a converted mid laner going to top lane. He's been playing pretty well. Kroko is an okay jungler, but not anything special. Closer and Prince are really solid carries. Prince has shown like elite AD carry upside, which is pretty exciting. He could be like the next good Korean AD carry. Like him and Gumayusi could be going against one another for many years to come. DRX, I'm very happy with DRX, how they've been playing this split. I love Piosik. He's one of my favorite players. Zika is another one of my favorite players. Beryl is another one of my favorite players. Beryl is a very good engaged support, has a huge champion pool. In a meta where Senna is good, Beryl should be one of the best supports in the world. Zika has shown many different play styles so far this split. He can play the supportive style, which is great next to Piosik, but he can also play the carry. He can be a carry when he needs to be, which not every mid laner has that ability. Like, yes, you can carry a game of League of Legends, but can you carry a game of League against an elite team? Zika has that ability, and then Kingen has played well so far this year, but he is not the most important player on DRX. He's probably the least important player on DRX. T1, yes, they lost a match, but they're still great. Zeus, I think, is probably a little overrated now, but he's still very good. Owner, same thing. Faker, best of all time, greatest of all time. Gumayusi, very good. He's an elite AD carry. And then Keria is the best support in the world and maybe the best player in the world. And then we have Genji. Doran, really good top laner. He's an A-level top laner. Peanut is one of the best junglers in the world at his specific playstyle. It's not always good, but in this meta, it seems to be good enough. Chovy, one of the best mid laners in the world. Ruler, one of the best AD carries in the world, if not the best. And then Lehens is a very good support. He's arguably an elite support worldwide. I'm not really changing much in my tier list except for Sandbox. I think Sandbox deserves to be higher. I think that they're not as good as DRX. I think Nongshim probably belongs above these teams, but everything else is kind of the same. Actually, Sandbox probably belongs here. I think if Nongshim was playing against Sandbox, I'd probably favor Nongshim at this point still. There are a lot of fireworks. If you can hear that, great. If you can't, that's great too. Then let's go to the LPL. So in the LPL, I think you can probably hear it. There aren't too many surprises so far this year in the LPL. So let's go from the bottom. World Elite. It's kind of unfortunate. I like a lot of the players in World Elite. I love Beishang. I think he's a very good jungler, but his team is kind of just garbage around him. Invictus Gaming, Shun is a good jungler, but similar situation. I think Zika's probably a good top laner. Thunder Talk, I don't really like any of the players in Thunder Talk. Or actually, I guess Beishwan's there. He was good. Rare Adam, not a huge fan of any of those players. Strive is interesting to me. Leon, I've been a fan of, when he was on IG. But I don't think that they're going to consistently take matches off of teams that are above them. LGD is pretty bad. FPX beat JDG today. FPX is playing well right now. I think JDG kind of threw that match away, but that's fine. So Summit, Clid, Care, LWX. Yeah. I don't really see them being elite for the rest of the split. I think that they could probably sneak up above like Anyone's Legends, Ultra Prime, OMG, but not much further. BLG, so the move with Bin like hasn't really worked out great. Weiwei is just not that good. The whole Fofo and Icon situation is kind of blowing my mind. I think that like Fofo is almost certainly better than Icon, but like I said, it's at worst a side grade, or at best a side grade. And then Doggo, kind of unfortunate that he hasn't been able to showcase his talents and be like the hyper carry that everybody knows that he can be. Probably some of it's coming down to drafting. BLG's been bad at drafting for a long time. OMG. So Cream is one of the best mid laners in China. I think that we will see him make a move to a bigger team at some point. Ultra Prime, Elk, and Xiaoxi are an elite bot lane. I think that they're super good, and as time goes on, we'll want to bet on them. Anyone's Legend is a team that I just don't understand. I'm not going to pretend like I do. Weibo Gaming, The Shy is amazing. SFM is very good. Angel's very good. Huan Feng's very good. And then On and Sword Art. It's been On only, but if they ever switched between On and Sword Art, it wouldn't really change much for me. RNG, Breathe is an elite top laner. Extremely good top laner. Xiaohu is one of the best mid laners in the world. Gal is overrated, but he's still an elite 80 carry. Ming, an elite support. I think that Wei is kind of a liability. I wish that they would get somebody else, but for now that's fine. I think that they're probably a top 3 team in the world. LNG, so Ale is good. He's an A-level top laner for sure. Tarzan, one of the best junglers in the world. Duanbi, one of the best mid laners in the world. Light and Iwandi have kind of been a letdown so far this split. Like, yes, they have been winning more often than not, but we want to see them play really well against the upper echelon teams. EDG, Flandre is good. He's an A-level top laner. Jai, I think, is probably an A or B level jungler. There are a lot of junglers out there that are just better than him, and a lot of the elite teams in China have better junglers, which should concern them going into playoffs. Scout, obviously very good. Viper, very good. Mako, very good. JDG, I love watching JDG. 369 is great. Kanavi is one of the best junglers in the world. Yagao is a good Zoe player. It didn't work out for them today. They should have won that first match against Top Esports. That was kind of unlucky. And then Hope and Missing are a solid bot lane. They play all the right champions, but they're draft dependent, and they're not really the reason why JDG is good. Kanavi is the reason that JDG is good. Hope is good. They're good players. It's just Kanavi is the most important player on the team for sure. Top Esports, Wayward's getting to the point of overrated. Tion's having a good split, and is going to become overrated. Knight, one of the best mid laners in the world, if not the best. Jackie Love is probably overrated at this point. And it's not that I don't think that they're all very good. They're all A-level players, or some of them are even elite players. It's just that people pretend like they're better than all the other good players, which I just really don't think that's the case. Where it'd be substantially better to have Jackie Love than somebody like Hope. There's not that big of a difference in my mind. And then V5, Photic has looked really good this split. PP God's an okay support, but he's not elite. Rookie hasn't played so far this split, but is still very good. Karsa and Xiaolong Bao have been going back and forth. They're both good. Rich has been surprisingly good in the LPL. I still don't think that he's elite. So let's talk about the players real quick, and we're just going to go by position. So I think for me, the 5 supports that I think they kind of stand out, and I know that there are players missing off of this. I think that Core JJ is still great. Mako is great. Ming is great. Carry is great. And I think that Xiaoxi is great. It's just that Xiaoxi's been on a pretty bad team for a while. But I think that if Xiaoxi was on a top 5 or 6 team in the LPL, everyone would understand how good this guy is. There's probably a European support you can throw in there, but I'm fine leaving them off. In the 80 carry role, I think that Danny, Upset, Viper, Ruler, Gala, Gumayusi, Jackie Love, Elk, Patrick, and Huanfeng are all bot laners who, going into a match, any of those guys against each other, I'm okay with it. I think that I think it's not necessarily a coin flip, but close to a coin flip. There are levels within this tier, but these are all my like favorite AD carries around the world. I think that they all have that like sensibility of going in when they need to, and sometimes it looks like they're inting, but ultimately you need to take that level of risk if you're a very good AD carry. In the mid lane, the best mid laners in my mind right now are Zika, Caps, Showmaker, Chovy, Larson, Scout, Cream, Duanby, Xiaohu, Knight, Faker, Rookie, and Perks. I think that Perks is probably right now the worst player on this list. But I think that he could easily find himself like in the middle of this list, based on what he's done in his career. But going into like a match like Knight against Perks, you're obviously gonna favor Knight. Xiaohu against Perks, you're obviously gonna favor Xiaohu. Let's go to top lane, and then we'll finish off with jungle. So in the top lane, we have Bwipo, Kana, The Shy, Breathe, Nuggery, and Zeus. Zeus, I wouldn't be surprised if he fell off this list at some point. Nuggery, welcome back. The Shy, one of the best in the world. Ints all the time, it's hilarious. But like if The Shy was on, like T1 or Top Esports or Gen G or just a team that has a better like support staff and coaching staff, like The Shy would be completely unlocked. He's just completely insane. One of the best players in the world. The guy he should really just lane swap. That's really what he should do. If he's going to play the way that he does, he should just lane swap. Kana, unfortunately, stuck on Nongshim. They need some roster swaps in order for him to be completely unlocked again. And then Bwipo, I really think that Bwipo could play top lane for almost any team in the world and like could be a benefit for the team. And then last but not least, the most important role in League of Legends, the jungle. So right now, these are the junglers that I think are the best. And obviously, Beishang, it looks insane that he's on this list, but Beishang has that elite upside. He's one of the best junglers in the world. I'm like pretty convinced of that. It's just he's on a bad team. Eventually, I think that a better team will pick him up. But what he was able to accomplish on World Elite when it was Breathe, Beishang, random mid laner, Zhao and Missing, that was such a good team. It sucks that they didn't stick together. But those four of those players are very good and still very good. All they needed was a better mid laner. But my jungle list is Inspired, Pyosik, Canyon, Peanut, Tarzan, Kanavi, Beishang, Karsa, Owner. So obviously Beishang should be at the bottom of that list because we haven't seen him have sustained excellence, but I think that excellence is within his range of outcomes. All the other ones are pretty self-explanatory. They're all extremely good junglers. You'll realize that 6 of them are Korean junglers. I know a lot of people want to talk about the LPL being the best region in the world, China being the best for League of Legends. The Korean players are still the best. Most of the best players are Korean, I should say. And, I'm not sure why that is, but that's just the way it is. And I think Inspired can kind of drag a team into the knockout round at Worlds. So hopefully that's what happens this year. But I wanted to get this video out, a little bit of an update on my thoughts for the season. I try not to overreact to a lot of this stuff because it's a small sample size. I still think that talent evaluation is more important than like saying, oh, well, CLG won 4 or 5 games. They must be so much better than we thought they were. We don't have to think that. We just have to contextualize it. So that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.